Breaking news from the Eyewitness Newsroom. You're looking live at Riverside University Medical Center in Moreno Valley. Live pictures there. A huge law enforcement gathering there, not only in support of the family, but also it appears to guard the entrances to the hospital. This after three California Highway Patrol officers were shot in an incident on the freeway involving a suspect whose car they were impounding. A shootout continued after that point, and three officers were wounded. One, we have just been told by the CHP, has died. Now, our Rob McMillan is at the scene here at the hospital. He has spoken with relatives of the fallen officer. Those relatives have identified that officer as Andre Moy Jr., 33 years old. He was married, no children. According to that family member, he had been on the force, the Highway Patrol, for some 4 years. More information, we hope, will come in about him and the other officers involved in this. But we can tell you what we have been able to determine thus far. Again, as we were reporting, some officers had pulled over a man on the freeway there at Box Springs Road. He was driving a white pickup truck, a white truck. There it is, you see, and they were preparing to impound the vehicle when the suspect was pulling some items out of the vehicle before it could be towed. He then, among the items that he pulled out was that rifle you see right there. And with that rifle, he opened fire on the officers who were very close by. You can see the bullet-riddled Highway Patrol vehicles. Again, three officers were hit. One officer, we are told, has died, according to the CHP. And the other officers are in conditions that we have not yet been able to determine. We're told a briefing will be coming later on. This was a very frightening shootout. Some people witnessed this, of course, and here's some video of the actual shootout as it was happening. Riverside police showing up to help their comrades on the CHP. The gunman taking refuge at one point behind his truck, firing at the officers. He was wounded and then eventually shot and killed, neutralized, according to the initial report by the officers at the scene. Now we know that suspect is in fact dead. That is when the action shifted to an effort to retrieve the wounded officers and bring them to Riverside University Medical Center in Moreno Valley. They were one was placed into the back of that Riverside police unit there, which whisked him away from the scene. Another was placed into the back of a patrol helicopter belonging to Riverside PD, and which is very unusual. Those are not normally used to transport people. They did take that officer via helicopter to the same hospital. What you're looking at here is another vehicle that was not far from the scene, very close by. We are told it was a family with twin children in the back seat, and that bullets entered the car. The information we're getting is that shrapnel, perhaps flying glass, hit someone in that vehicle. They were injured, but not severely, not to the point of needing to be transported immediately. As you can see, though, firefighters were there dealing with that situation as well, crying children, and a great distress there. This is very close, as you can see, to the scene where this shootout took place. And at the hospital now, people have gathered, family and friends of the officers who were involved here, people learning the sad news that one of their officers has in fact died. A huge contingent of law enforcement, Highway Patrol officers on duty and off duty, now responding to the word of this horrific shootout that took place in Riverside. A suspect with an assault rifle, a military-style rifle, as you saw there, shooting it out with the CHP officers and hitting three of them with gunfire. One of those officers has died. Again, that officer identified by a family member as Andre Moy Jr., known to his family and friends as Junior. That family member spoke to our Rob McMillan at the hospital there tonight. That officer, 33 years old, apparently a 4-year veteran of the Highway Patrol, according to that family member. He was married with no children. The condition of the other officers is not known to us. The condition of the gunman is in fact dead. And now the question continues as to why this happened, what was going on here, why he decided to, after being pulled over and detained and having his vehicle impounded, why he decided to then open fire on these Highway Patrol officers. And what is really striking and startling about this is, in addition to the obvious violence and the horrific effect that it had The response afterward, we're trying to figure out why, in fact, at this point, there's a police Bearcat there, why there are armed SWAT officers inside the hospital, and also even snipers placed on the roof of Riverside University Medical Center. What the reason for that is, we do not know, but there's a contingent of law enforcement here that is in a law enforcement role, actually acting in some sense, I guess, as a defensive force, if you want to call it that. Deployed at this hospital. That's in addition to the number of officers who have showed up in support of the Highway Patrol and the family members who are getting this startling and very horrific news tonight of what took place now some 3 hours ago in Riverside. Again, to recap, this began with a person being pulled over by Riverside by the CHP. And a decision was made, or some policy was implemented, in which the suspect's vehicle was to be impounded. The suspect, apparently, according to reports, according to the information we have, asked to be able to retrieve some of the items from the rear of his truck before it was towed. The officers allowed him to do that. One of the items that he pulled from the back of the truck was, in fact, that assault rifle you saw on the ground there. And with that rifle right there, he opened fire. And that video was captured by several people at or near the scene. You're seeing here Riverside police officers in support of the Highway Patrol firing at the gunman who was firing at them. He took refuge behind his own truck after opening fire on those Highway Patrol officers who were very close to him when he opened fire on them. And he was eventually shot and killed. We're not sure by whom yet. We're not sure who fired the actual fatal rounds that killed the suspect.
I need to interrupt, Mark Brown.
Yeah.
We've got brand new video just in that was shot by an eyewitness. We're going to play it, and you're going to describe it.
Okay. Here's the video that was just our executive producer is describing.
People are shooting at each other.
Let you listen into it.
Yeah, she was a block or so away, but she captured the guy.
Oh
with
my
the gun.
God.
We've seen it several times.
There's a guy with the rifle. Oh my God. Oh my God. God. There's a guy with the rifle. Oh my God. Holy. Holy.
All right, you are seeing and hearing this person's response to seeing that gunman involved in the gunfight, shooting at officers, captured on video again. If we can re-rack that, if we can. We can't. We're going to keep playing. All right, we're going to keep playing it. You're hearing her responses to that. There he is. There's the gunman.
The guy right there. The guy right there. He's not a cop. He's a
Go see him take a shot in a
guy
second.
right there. He's not a cop. He's a human being.
Okay, looks like here he's been hit. He's limping.
Holy fuck.
Still firing. We apologize. We tried to bleep as much as we can, but you can imagine what your response would be upon seeing this unfurl in front of you.
That is a shooting.
He's been hit at least once, and apparently in the leg or somewhere in the lower part of his body, because he is. And there you see more shots being fired. And that's where the video ends. Let's see if we can, we're here. We might as well take another look at it. Again, this transpired at about 5:30 tonight, and this recorded by a woman in a car here down the embankment from the freeway.
Oh my God. There's a guy with the rifle. Oh my God. Oh my God. God. There's a guy with the rifle. Oh my God. Holy. Holy. I don't know what the fuck to do. Oh my God.
It's very frightening, as you can imagine. And very shortly you'll see the gunman appear in frame again from the left. Again, taking aim and firing shots at the CHP officers. There he is. Yeah, we're going to leave the audio down because not every single obscenity has been bleeped out. But you can see it there. She's actually pointing to the gunman, and he's aiming that assault-style rifle at law enforcement officers downrange and firing shots at them. He's been hit, as you can see here. He is limping, but he is still firing. He is taking shots, but still firing. You see him there to the extreme left, And now he's hiding behind a vehicle. Now he's trying to get back to the vehicle where he came from, but he's very close to that CHP unit. Shots are being fired at him. He is shooting back. You see him firing there. We're leaving the audio down. And shortly after this, we believe, was when the gunman was killed. Looking here from our vantage point in Air 7 HD, this is Riverside University Medical Center, where the effort to save the lives of the remaining 2 officers who were shot in this gun battle goes on. We expect to hear a briefing fairly right around 10 o'clock from the Highway Patrol, where we hope to find out more information about all 3 of their officers. But again, one of them was killed. There were 3 officers involved in this incident initially, 3 CHP officers. You can see a large and growing contingent of members of the Highway Patrol and other police agencies that have gathered at RUMC to in support of the family, as well as this. Very puzzling. It remains. This is a SWAT team Bearcat. This is an armored vehicle that is used in high gunfire situations where there's a potential for gunfire, where there's a potential for a real lethal sort of attack to take place. That's when they bring that out. They also have officers on the roof, or at least had them earlier that we were able to see. There are 2 Bearcats, as you can see there. There are SWAT officers in full SWAT regalia right there in front of that vehicle. And they're there, it appears, in a capacity of maintaining security, maintaining the security of this hospital. For that, we don't quite yet know the reason. And that is a big question here on whether perhaps they think there might be more involved in this than just this one man and this one incident. That's the only thing that we could maybe point to, because the suspect is dead. The suspect, according to the CHP, was neutralized at the scene and is dead. So why the need for additional security? What you're seeing here, that is the vehicle with the green tarp over it. That is the Riverside City Police vehicle that was used to transport one of the officers to the hospital. You saw an officer being loaded, or we have video rather of an officer being loaded into the back of this vehicle and being whisked over here to this hospital. Code 3. We have elected at this point not to show you the video of the officers being loaded into either the patrol vehicle or the helicopter that you're seeing here, out of respect for the families, out of word that we don't know which one is the one who's deceased, and it would be distressing for family members to see that on our air, so we're going to leave that out for now. What you're seeing here is more people that are arriving at the hospital. You see the people dressed as in civilian clothes. We assume these are family members being escorted in by Highway Patrol officers. So family members have been showing up at Riverside University Medical Center throughout the evening since the shooting took place at 5:30. They have been showing up on scene now and trying to find out more information about their family member who was involved in this shooting. Again, 3 CHP officers involved in a very violent and erratic shooting episode. An attack on them is what it was. And one of those Highway Patrol officers has been killed along with the suspect. People are now gathering at the hospital. And as you can see, it's a very emotional scene. One can only imagine what it must be like for these family members, either learning the tragic news that their loved one is dead or learning the very frightening news that their loved one has been shot and may be fighting for his life. So people are there, family members are there, and different law enforcement agencies, including, of course, the Highway Patrol, is showing up in support of those families, as well as a very large contingent of SWAT officers that appear to be involved in securing the hospital. We have even seen officers with sniper rifles on the roof of this medical center. I'm not sure if they are still there, but we did see that during daylight. And so we're going to try to find out what that's about, if they think there may be more than one person involved. But look at the number of officers who have arrived here. Excuse me. that have arrived and finding out the news about one of their colleagues having lost his life. We expect to have a briefing shortly. In about an hour and 15 minutes now, we're expecting to hear from a briefing from the Highway Patrol about what has happened. And again, so you see more officers there involved with their SWAT regalia on, their SWAT gear, automatic rifle, helmet, tactical gear. Excuse me. All right, and so we're learning as much as we can about this, about the suspect, about the officers who have been involved in this. We are gathering information. We not at liberty to reveal everything because we're trying to confirm all of it at this point. That includes talking to family members, but we're going to try to get that information out to you just as soon as we can, and when we get it, we will release it. When this briefing happens, you will see it live here on ABC7. But again, this is all happening in the wake of a shootout that left 3 CHP officers hit by gunfire. One of them is dead. More updates later.